Hello, and welcome to another episode of Ask an Assistant, the podcast for executive assistants and the people that love us. I'm your host, Jess Lindgren. Let's get to work. Today's question comes from esteemed colleague Brenda, who wrote in via askanassistant.com with the following query. Hi, Jess. I work at a large company and meet a lot of new people all the time in the office. We are constantly bringing in external people for meetings. People from different departments come through my desk consistently, and one of the people I support has the final say on all new hires. My desk is basically Grand Central Station. Do you have any tips for being better at remembering names? Hey, Brenda. First, thank you so much for your question. Anyone listening, I would love to hear from you at askanassistant.com. As always, please lay your comments, questions, thoughts, and concerns on me. I don't have a show without you. But back to Brenda's question. I do have tips for being better at remembering names. My husband and I moved to Syracuse in upstate or central, if you will, New York, to be professional auntie and uncle. And we walk around our neighborhood a lot. Like, we've just gotten to know so many people through our nieces and nephews, through connections that we've made, through just being citizens who are out and about in the neighborhood. I would say on average, we meet at least 2 new people every week. So I have been getting a lot more practice in the remembering names department than I used to. I've been working remote since 2014. Definitely some elements of hybrid, but I would say it's 95% for the past 10 years has been working remote, working from home, working from wherever it is that I might find myself. You're not always meeting a ton of people face to face when you are working out of a home office, even if you're working at a co-working space. Um, but yeah, definitely just since moving here to New York, I have had so much more practice and I've gotten better at it. So I would love to share some tips. Knowing and remembering names, like many things in life, it's a skill. It's one that you can practice, although there is something called Dunbar's number, which I will link the Wikipedia entry in the show notes, although it's very quick and very easy to Google for yourself if you don't want to click on the link. But anyway, Dunbar's number. There's a lot of scientific language surrounding the concept of Dunbar's number and some comparable theories. But the gist is that humans can comfortably maintain 150 stable relationships. Now, 150 is a large number on paper, but that number gets eaten up quickly by your closest friends, family, colleagues, relationships related to your friends, family, and colleagues, acquaintances, people that you went to school with, people that you see once a year, once every 5 years, once a decade. And definitely in more modern times, they get eaten up by your parasocial relationships. Just this week, I found myself talking with my husband about Nicole Byer of Why Won't You Date Me fame, having finally found a boyfriend. And I don't personally know her much as I would really like to. My husband and I listened to a bunch of episodes of her show during our cross country move in 2021 from California to New York. So we have a vested interest, but still, though, like, I would love to know her. I really hope that I get to know her someday. But right now, I do know a bit about her life through what she shares on her podcast. And therefore, she takes up a slot in my 150 people, like it just that 150, it's fewer people. Like, it seems like a lot at first, but it's fewer people than you think. But anyway, back to practicing remembering names, whether people fit into your 150 or not. And that 150 is not like a hard and fast, you can only remember 150 people's names. It's more of a suggestion. It's more of an average based on, again, there's some scientific stuff, some anthropological stuff related to that, but just using 150 as a guideline. You can certainly also get to know people's names and faces and boost that 150 to a larger number or at least maintain great relationships with people in the office, short of slapping large print name tags on everyone everywhere they go. But back to practicing remembering names. This is what I do at a high level. Whenever I meet somebody new, I always associate them with a famous person or favorite movie character in my mind. So all of you just, sit and think about what your names are and what some famous, in my case, some famous Jessicas. Maybe in your case, it's a famous Susan. Maybe in somebody else's case, it's a famous Melissa. Who knows? But yes, so I immediately like to associate people with a famous person or movie character in my mind. Next, I do my darndest to get their name and number into my phone, and I will add context to their contact card. And lastly, all else fails, I reintroduce myself constantly. Like, hopefully, it makes it feel less awkward for the other person. But yeah, I just do. Getting into the weeds now that we've established the higher level points, immediately associating somebody with a famous person or favorite movie character. This actually happened recently when I met the owner of a local business who I immediately in my mind associated with Kevin from the original Home Alone movie. And yes, I do say the original because my nephews are on like Home Alone 6 or something, which I didn't even know they made anything after Home Alone 2. Um, I like the originals. I don't know how I feel about the concept of 3 through whatever. But anyway, I immediately associated this person with Kevin from Home Alone. And I'm talking like hands to the face, the scream, the iconic moment from the original Home Alone movie. And I was talking with a friend. I was just like, "Oh, hey, I met Kevin the other day." And my friend was like, "Who's Kevin?" And they were like, "Isn't the owner," I don't even remember what they said, "Isn't the owner Jimmy or Kathleen or whatever?" But it was not Kevin. And so I explained my famous first person slash character association. We all had a good laugh. I am really excited to see the person who I think is Kevin next time and get to the bottom of this. And maybe they'll just always and forever be Kevin in my mind. Who knows? Um, to reinforce my memory, I definitely do my best to get their name and phone number, maybe an address into my phone and add context to their card. The name is helpful, obviously. Getting their phone number is helpful so we can stay in touch. You just never know when you might need your neighbor who is a violin instructor and your nephew takes violin lessons. You never know when your neighbor who composts has space in their compost bin because the neighborhood composting bin is overflowing. Like, it's just really nice. Um, when we moved here from California, we really made an effort to get to know everybody. And over the last 3.5 years, that's really paid off. So getting name, phone number, addresses, I'm a big physical snail mail person. So I always love to just jot down a quick 123 Main Street. So that way, if I'm walking by and they had a birthday or something good, bad, or in between happened, I can just drop a little note and let people know that I'm thinking of them. And yeah, so this one I would say realistically is like a 75% success rate. Sometimes I'm not in a position to take down their information. They might be similarly walking in the opposite direction or don't feel like giving their information to a person, me, who they presently consider a stranger. Like, I know I'm not a stranger. I know the other connections that we have. But I'm never pressing, like, I'm never persistent or pushy trying to get their information because that's super creepy, right? But by putting the ask out there in the first place, I would say I have like a 90% success rate getting that remaining 25% to come around eventually, whether that's them bumping into me next time, "Oh, hey, sorry, I was busy last time," or asking a mutual friend, "Hey, could you make an introduction? I would really love to have Jess's phone number." It comes around eventually. So just putting that ask out there, being open to the connection and making the ask the offer in the first place, definitely gets people thinking about it. And yeah, I have a super high success rate. It's a practice. You just have to ask. In terms of context, I definitely add a lot of notes to my contact cards. I put into the notes section when and where we met, maybe if applicable, who their kids are, who their pets are. We recently had a neighbor move out, and it turns out that they were like the linchpin of the neighborhood cat care matrix. So now my husband and I are the neighborhood cat care go-to folks. I think we have keys to half the neighbors at this point. And just having a little note about, whoever lives next door and what their pet's name might be. Not going to name names because we've got some pretty distinctive cats and neighbor names, but you know who you are if you are my neighbor. And your cats are wonderful and lovely. But yeah, just like having a little note or like assigning a particular contact photo, anything like that. It's any kind of context just helps you uh, meet and maybe exceed that Dunbar number, that 150 people. Um, and just, you know, it's more information in this context is always helpful. On top of that, I have lived in 3 separate states. I've been working with the same executive for over a decade. I have previous professional and personal relationships. Um, I have developed a very deep system of acronyms and abbreviations, like things that are very easy to search when I'm scrolling through my contacts. So, for example, like if you're my neighbor, I list you in my phone as name, MSP, SAN, or SYR neighbor. So I'm using the airport code as an easily searchable something that, there's not a lot of names that have MSP in the middle of them or SYR that are gonna pull up. Like, airport codes have been a very consistently easy thing for me to search inside of my contacts. Um, Neighbor Joe is a different Joe in Minneapolis, San Diego, and Syracuse. On top of that, I have an executive who is deeply involved in the podcasting, blogging, YouTubing, and entertainment spheres. Like, acronyms around like there's just a million acronyms that only are meaningful to me in my notes so that I can remember the who, what, when, where, why of just about anyone at a moment's notice. So making those acronyms something like develop your own system. Feel free, use the airport codes if you want to. Make up a little acronym or hashtag, if you will, whatever it is that you want to do, but like something that is easily searchable so that when you're looking up, like you're not just getting people's names, like you're getting the context that you're searching for by putting those little shortcuts into people's contact cards has just been immeasurably helpful over the years. And honestly, failing all else, I reintroduce myself all the time. Like, hopefully, it makes it less awkward for the other person. I'm gonna be real with you. I'm in my 40s. The brain fog of perimenopause, ugh, the brain fog of perimenopause is real. Like, I don't have the seemingly limitless gift that my executive does of being able to remember just about anyone, anywhere, at any given time. Like, he bumps into people at an event, at the grocery store, at the PO box, and just like, hey, so and so from XYZ conference, and I haven't seen you in 15 years. Can't believe you recognize me. Now I've got a giant beard. But like, truly, people recognize him. He remembers them. I don't know how he does it. Um, but it's genuine and real and such a skill. And yeah, it's amazing. So for me, it's a practice and one that I've been getting a lot of practice at for the last 3, 4 years. And yeah, I do my best, but lapses in memory rather, absolutely do happen. And I am so very happy to be the person who bears the brunt of the awkwardness. Like, the more that you practice saying, hey, you look so familiar. I know we've met before. I'm Jess. I am so and so's auntie. I am Bob's wife. I am my executive's assistant. whatever it is, like just reintroduce yourself, give your name a little bit of context. Um, the more people are, in my experience, willing to reintroduce themselves and may even be a little bit relieved that you said your name first. Um, I'm sure there are people out there who will be completely beside themselves when you don't remember their name, but thankfully, knock on wood, I have not encountered them just yet. So, you can also do the slide like when I'm with my husband, if we're out walking and somebody like waves at us or we see somebody and they're walking toward us with a big smile on their face, I just kind of through the corner of my mouth, I'm like, who is that again? So you can kind of hopefully be a little bit sneaky about it. Or when you do bump into somebody and they've got a big smile and you're like, okay, I'm pretty sure they've never met my husband before. Hey, great to see you. This is my husband, Bob. Hopefully they will take the cue or just miss it completely and introduce themselves in the first place. But it's always a little bit of a crapshoot, and your mileage is going to vary on that one, but it's a practice. Be sure to give yourself some grace no matter which road you take. And to every person who has taken the cue, taken the hint that I've dropped, that I have misremembered your name and need you to reintroduce yourself, thank you for extending some of that similar grace to me. It is always appreciated. Yeah, and that's it for this week. Brenda, I hope this helps. I would love to know which tips you use and how it goes for you getting to know folks. To all of you listening, my esteemed colleagues, lay your tips on me. I would love to know what it is that you're doing. Mnemonic devices. If you play a little name game, like whatever. I want to know what you're doing and what's working for you. Because truly, anything helps in this realm. Like I said, I'm in my 40s. Memory is not going to get better from here on out. And I really don't want to rely too terribly heavily on just reintroducing myself. When somebody that I've only met a time or two remembers my name, I feel super special. And I can only imagine that most of us feel a similar way. So until next week, I'm your host, Jess Lindgren, and take care.